And then you see the whole audience moving and smiling and standing up and dancing in the arts, and that's what I want.
The news broke like a thunderclap across the classical music world. André Rieu, the beloved King of Waltz, conductor of the Johann Strauss Orchestra and classical music's greatest showman, had suddenly disappeared from public view. Concerts postponed, social media accounts silent. The vibrant maestro who had filled stadiums across the globe was nowhere to be seen. Then came the whispers: illness, hospitalization, and troubling rumors about his condition. For over 3 decades, André Rieu has been a fixture in classical music, transforming what was once considered an elite art form into accessible entertainment enjoyed by millions. From his breakthrough performances in the 1990s through his rise to become one of the most commercially successful classical artists in history, Rieu's charismatic presence and joyful interpretations of classical waltzes defined a new approach to orchestral performance. His concerts, spectacular affairs combining music with elaborate staging and emotional storytelling, have sold out venues worldwide, with over 40 million albums sold and countless PBS specials bringing his performances into living rooms across America. Then, suddenly, concerning headlines began appearing. André Rieu's health crisis, King of Waltz faces serious illness, and perhaps most alarming, André Rieu's final bow, son Pierre prepares to take over. The claims spread rapidly across social media platforms where algorithms reward emotional engagement without regard for accuracy. Concerned fans flooded legitimate news sites with questions, while others took to Rieu's social media accounts seeking confirmation or denial. "I was devastated when I first saw those headlines," said longtime fan Elizabeth Winters. "André's music has been the soundtrack to so many important moments in my life. His Christmas concerts are a family tradition. The thought that he might be seriously ill was heartbreaking." The rumors appeared to have originated from a perfect storm of factors: Rieu's temporary absence from scheduled appearances, the postponement of several tour dates, and his son Pierre's increased visibility in handling business matters. Add in the internet's tendency to amplify sensational claims, and suddenly a man known for his boundless energy and vitality was being discussed as if he were facing a life-threatening condition. "It's remarkable how quickly these narratives develop," explained Dr. Sophia Chen, a media studies professor who researches misinformation. "People see a headline that seems plausible, given the limited information available, and they share it without verification. With beloved cultural figures especially, there's an emotional investment that can cloud critical thinking. We want to know what's happening, and in that urgency, we sometimes accept information that hasn't been properly vetted." The reality of André Rieu's situation, while concerning, was far less dire than the alarming headlines suggested. Far from facing a terminal diagnosis, the musician had experienced what his family later described as a serious but treatable condition that required him to temporarily step back from his rigorous touring schedule. André needed time to focus on his recovery, said a source close to the Rieu organization who requested anonymity. The decision to postpone concerts wasn't made lightly. He's famous for performing through almost anything, but his doctors were insistent that he needed rest and treatment. The family chose to keep the details private, which is their right, but that privacy created a vacuum that speculation rushed to fill. As weeks passed without official updates, the rumors intensified. Some claimed Rieu was undergoing experimental treatments abroad. Others suggested he had suffered a career-ending condition that would prevent him from ever performing again. The most troubling rumors implied that the situation was so grave that his son Pierre was preparing to permanently take over the Johann Strauss Orchestra. Pierre Rieu, who has worked alongside his father for years as executive producer of his spectacular concerts, found himself thrust into an unexpected spotlight. As the rumors reached a fever pitch, he made the difficult decision to address the situation publicly. "It was a challenging position for Pierre," explained Chen. "He needed to provide enough information to calm the speculation without violating his father's privacy during a vulnerable time. That's an almost impossible balance to strike in today's media environment." Pierre's initial statement was carefully measured. "My father is receiving excellent care and is focused on his recovery. We appreciate the concern and well wishes from fans around the world, but we ask for privacy during this time. The Johann Strauss Orchestra will continue its scheduled performances under guest conductors until my father's return." The statement, while reassuring in its implication that André would indeed return, did little to stem the tide of speculation. If anything, the mention of recovery, without specific details about the condition, only fueled further rumors. When public figures issue vague statements about health matters, it often backfires, noted Chen. People fill in the blanks with their worst fears, especially when it comes to beloved figures like Rieu, who at 74 is at an age where health concerns naturally arise. For the musicians of the Johann Strauss Orchestra, the situation was particularly difficult. Many had performed with Rieu for decades, forming a tight-knit musical family under his leadership. It was strange performing without him, admitted violinist Manuela Borders in a rare interview. André's energy is what drives our performances. He's not just conducting the music, he's conducting the emotions of the entire hall. The guest conductors were excellent musicians, but everyone could feel there was something missing. As weeks turned into months, Pierre Rieu found himself increasingly stepping into his father's administrative role while maintaining the creative vision of the performances. Those close to the family say this period revealed Pierre's remarkable capabilities that had always been present but often overshadowed by his father's outsized personality. Pierre has always been the behind-the-scenes architect of much of what makes André's concerts special, said a longtime colleague. The production values, the staging, the business operations, Pierre has been instrumental in all of it. This challenging period simply made visible what insiders already knew, that Pierre is extraordinarily talented in his own right. 3 months after André's initial withdrawal from public appearances, Pierre made the decision to provide a more substantial update. What followed was not just a statement about his father's health, but a deeply personal reflection that revealed the profound bond between father and son and offered a glimpse into the private world of a family that has lived so much of their life in the public eye. After much reflection, I want to share some thoughts with the millions who have sent their love and support. Pierre began. My father's health challenge has been serious, but his spirit has never wavered. The man who taught the world to love the waltz is now teaching us all about resilience and the healing power of purpose. Pierre went on to describe a turning point in his father's recovery, a moment that would later be described by those close to the family as the garden concert. 6 weeks into my father's recovery, I arranged for a small ensemble from the orchestra to play in the garden outside his window. We chose pieces that held special meaning. The first waltz he ever conducted, the piece that was playing when he met my mother. We didn't tell him it was happening. I just opened his window at the appointed time. According to Pierre, André's reaction revealed everything about his character and his unbreakable connection to music. At first, he thought it was a recording. Then he recognized the specific interpretation, the unique way our first violinist phrases certain passages. He stood up, which he wasn't supposed to do without assistance, and made his way to the window. When he saw 20 of his musicians standing in the garden, playing their hearts out just for him, he did something that the doctors would have strongly advised against. He began conducting from the window. This moment, Pierre explained, marked a turning point in André's recovery. The doctors were amazed at the improvement in his vital signs following what they now call the garden concert. It was as if the music itself was medicine. As André's strength returned, Pierre faced the delicate task of managing both his father's enthusiasm and the medical team's caution. The question on everyone's mind was when or if André would return to performing. My father began setting targets that the doctors thought were unrealistic, Pierre revealed. He would say, "I'll conduct the New Year's concert," and they would gently suggest aiming for spring instead. It created this interesting dynamic where I found myself in the middle, wanting to support my father's determination while also protecting him from pushing too hard, too soon. What Pierre came to realize, however, was that his father's determination wasn't merely stubbornness. It was an essential part of his healing process. I realized something important. My father has always defied expectations. His entire career has been built on doing what experts said couldn't be done. Who was I to decide which medical timeline he should follow? So instead of managing his expectations, I began focusing on creating the conditions that would make his goals possible, whatever they might be. This shift in perspective led to what many consider the most powerful part of Pierre's statement, his reflection on what he had learned through this challenging period about his father, about music, and about himself. What I've learned through this experience is that music isn't just my father's profession, it's his life force. The notes flow through his veins as surely as blood. When he was at his weakest physically, the thought of music, of his orchestra, of his audience waiting, these gave him strength when medicine alone could not. Pierre's words resonated deeply with fans worldwide, many of whom had experienced the healing power of Rieu's music in their own lives. Social media filled with stories of how André's performances had brought comfort during grief, joy during celebration, and beauty during ordinary moments. My father will return to the stage when the time is right, not because doctors permit it, but because the music demands it, Pierre continued. And when that moment comes, the waltz will carry a new depth, a new gratitude, a new joy that could only have been discovered through this challenging passage. The response to Pierre's statement was overwhelming. Music critics and fans alike described it as a love letter to music itself, and a reminder of why André Rieu matters beyond the notes he plays. For the musicians of the Johann Strauss Orchestra, Pierre's words confirmed what they had always known about their leader. André doesn't just play music, he lives it, said concertmaster Frank van der Heijden. What Pierre described so beautifully is what we experience every day working with his father. The music isn't something André does, it's who he is. As weeks passed, André began making brief appearances at orchestra rehearsals, first just observing, then offering suggestions, and finally taking up his violin for short periods. Each step forward was celebrated by the tight-knit group of musicians who had maintained his musical vision during his absence. The first time he played with us again, there wasn't a dry eye in the room, recalled a violinist. It wasn't about the notes. It was about seeing this force of nature returning to his element. Pierre was standing in the back of the room, and the look on his face, pride, relief, joy, it said everything about their relationship. 5 months after his initial withdrawal from public appearances, André Rieu made his return to the stage, not with a full concert, but with a surprise appearance during a performance led by a guest conductor. As the orchestra began playing The Blue Danube, André walked onto the stage unannounced, took up his violin, and joined the performance. The audience eruption was so thunderous that the orchestra had to pause and restart the piece. In the weeks that followed, André gradually resumed his role as conductor and performer, though with a modified schedule that allowed for continued recovery. Throughout this transition, Pierre remained a constant presence, not just as a son supporting his father, but as a partner ensuring that André's vision continued to guide every aspect of their productions. When asked about his experience during a rare joint interview with his father, Pierre offered what many consider his final words on the subject. Not because the story has ended, but because they mark the beginning of a new chapter for the Rieu family and the Johann Strauss Orchestra. People often ask if I feel pressure being André Rieu's son, Pierre reflected. After this experience, I can say with certainty that it's not pressure I feel. It's privilege, not because of his fame or success, but because I've had a front row seat to a life lived with complete devotion to bringing joy. There's no greater inheritance than that lesson. André, listening to his son's words, responded with characteristic warmth. The student has become the teacher. I thought I was the one who understood the power of music, but Pierre has shown me its power in an entirely new way. When I couldn't make music, he ensured that the music continued. That is the greatest gift a son could give to his father. As André Rieu prepares to resume his full touring schedule, the false headlines about his condition will fade into obscurity, while the actual music, the real legacy, continues to resonate across generations. No illness could diminish a spirit that has already achieved immortality through art that has touched millions. The only goodbye in this story is to the rumors themselves, fabrications that, unlike Rieu's music, will not stand the test of time. For Pierre Rieu, the experience has transformed his understanding of his father's legacy and his own role in preserving it. What I once saw as my father's orchestra, I now understand is actually his gift to the world, he reflected. My responsibility isn't just to maintain it, but to ensure that its essence, the joy, the accessibility, the emotion, continues to reach people long after both of us are gone. And for André, the experience has deepened his already profound appreciation for the healing power of music. I have always said that music is the language of the heart, he noted in a recent interview. Now I can say with certainty that it is also the medicine of the soul. When words and even modern medicine reach their limits, music continues to heal. As father and son stand together on stages around the world, their shared experience has created a new dimension to performances already known for their emotional impact. The music remains the same. The beloved waltzes, the stirring melodies, the joyful performances. But there's a new depth to the experience, a gratitude that can only come from having nearly lost something precious. Every note is a gift, Pierre observed, watching his father rehearse with the orchestra. That's what this experience has taught us all. Every note, every performance, every moment together. These are not guaranteed. They are gifts to be cherished. For millions of fans worldwide, the greatest gift is simply seeing the King of Waltz back where he belongs. Violin in hand, smile on his face, creating moments of joy that transcend language, culture, and time. And standing beside him, ensuring that the magic continues, is the son whose words revealed not just the power of music, but the enduring strength of family bonds that even illness could not weaken.